for more than 20 years, you kind of soaked into the culture, whether you like it or no, because you're in business here, right?
Sure.
You're selling to Indians, so you have to jolly well understand it. How do you explain this to your head office?
With great difficulty sometimes. So, I mean, you have to understand, when you go to Hafele in Germany, you will, first of all, enter the Black Forest. You land in Stuttgart.
I happen to be there. So I
that's
know
right,
it's very beautiful.
Oh, yeah, of course. So you're entering a different world from the one that we live in here. Different cultures, different expectations, different ways of doing things. So it couldn't be any more different than it actually is.
True.
So you can imagine trying to explain to them how things work here is very difficult sometimes, and they really struggle to understand. What people want is not so different. So I always explain to my people here that at the end of the day, if you want to anticipate what the customer wants, ask yourself what you want as a consumer. Right? When you avail of a service, or you buy a product, or you do whatever out there, what do you expect? And that is what your customer expects of you. It's very simple, there's a very simple formula here.
Is there a difference in that the customers expect the same everywhere, and it is how they expect what they want? Is there a difference in the how? Do customers in India need more attention?
Yes. So that would be different. So that is the understanding of the local culture and what people expect when they come through the door in one of your showrooms or design centers, whatever. They clearly, would like to be greeted properly. They would like to be offered some water maybe, and given the attention that they expect. So they don't want to be one of many, and sort of running around there lost in the showroom themselves. They want somebody to take them around and explain all the products and services to them.
While we were talking, you mentioned design centers. And somewhere what I was reading up about you and things like that, I believe that design centers have been very close to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
When was the first time that the design center exclusively for Hafele products started in India, and where did you start the first design center? And most importantly, what made you come to that thought that the design center needs to be there in India or in any of the metros here?
So when we arrived here, we were selling hardware fittings, you know what I mean? And people have great difficulty understanding when they look at a piece of hardware or a fitting, what it actually does. So it was very clear to me from the very beginning that if we wanted to sell them successfully, we needed to show people what they can do with it. So we needed to show them in application, exactly. And the first design center was actually in CR Park in Delhi.
Oh, started with Delhi first.
Yeah, because it was quite funny and relatively early. I think it was already 2005 when we opened that. They came through a friend who was a chef in the JW Marriott here, who got married to an Indian. And
your friend is a German, is it?
No, he was Italian actually.
Italian.
And they had this property in CR Park, and he gave me the idea. He said, why don't you take that house and turn it into a Hafele showcase, with a bedroom and bathrooms and living rooms and kitchen and so on. And that's ultimately what we did. So we took that house and turned that into a Hafele showcase, and that was our first design center. And of course, since then, the concept has evolved tremendously. We've gone much bigger.
No, I want to understand, when your first design center was launched in Delhi, did you find any difference in the way, the perception of the consumers? Did that change a little when it comes to Hafele? Did it build a lot more of trust values? Is it that people got to see the applications? Yes. But the perception of the company, I feel, would have changed a little.
Yeah, so a couple of things happened that don't typically happen with Hafele, right? So first of all, by entering the market with this concept of design centers, we were automatically not talking to business partners, we were talking to end users, which is not Hafele, right? Typically Hafele is all business to business, B2B, and not so much marketing itself to the end user. So that happened through the design centers. And we hadn't even thought about that. That was just something that happened.
It just happened along the way.
It happened along the way. And then, of course, the end users looked at us in a different way because they said, this is interesting, and now I understand what you can do, and I can imagine having that in my house. And the perception took us away slowly but steadily from being a component seller to a solution provider. Yeah, because we showed full kitchens, we showed full wardrobes, living room, bedrooms,
the positioning
and so on.
Changed. Huh?
Absolutely, yeah.
For the better.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. So, and that is basically why the design centers became so pivotal in our brand building over time, because customers could, effectively see the solution.
The visibility.
Yeah, and imagine that in their own house. I think, because it's quite a unique concept in our industry.
Exactly.
Really, at that time, nobody else was doing it. And in the meantime, of course, some other companies have started doing it as well. And it made us stand out, there's no question about that. And then when we started in 2009 to take that concept into our franchise shops that we then started creating all over the country, we got even more visibility because all of a sudden we were able to put these into tier 2, tier 3 cities and really become visible in the market as a brand.
True. So from one design center to how many today?
So overall in the region we have 10 plus 2 smaller ones.
When you say region, you're talking about the
So I'm talking about India,
South
Bangladesh,
Asia?
Sri Lanka,
Yeah, okay,
Bhutan,
okay,
Nepal,
okay.
and the Maldives. And so we have another 3 in Sri Lanka, actually, 1 in Dhaka, and then 8 in India.
And I'm aware that y'all also host a lot of small events and small parties in your design center. Because I'd come to one of them. I think that was in your Mahalakshmi Design Center of Bhandup. And one thing I must tell you, or rather compliment you about Hafele is that because I deal with the architect and the interior designer fraternity, when they talk about Hafele, they also talk about fun.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, which I realized over the years, I have been associated with Hafele for different reasons. And these kind of small get-togethers, parties, you'll have this Women's Day award, you'll have all these small things which helps Hafele get connected to your customers, whether they are business customers or architects or dealers in so many different ways.
Sure.
So, I know that you have the marketing portfolio with you for the longest time in Hafele. So, I just want to understand the thought behind this.
So again, it's very simple. Why complicate things? It's all about relationships, building relationships with a variety of different customer groups. So we literally sell to everybody in the country. So we sell to architects, interior designers, contractors, manufacturers, projects, you name it. And ultimately, we want all of them to see what we have to offer to them, whether it's the products or the services that we're offering. And the design centers were, of course, the venues that we built to do this. And they were always built in such a way that we could always entertain there.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's very important. So you can when you're trying to sell them a kitchen, so you better cook them a meal there, right?
True.
So that they can see what our appliances are doing, for instance, and how easy the kitchen is to use and how well you can organize yourself in it and so on. So if it's a no-brainer, really, So that has always been the concept behind it. Number one. Number two, of course, is that the way our culture is in the company is that we want to have fun in what we do. We work hard, for sure, very hard, but ultimately we also want to have some fun. And
so I was not wrong with that assessment.
Not at all, no. And also the way we talk to each other, the way we communicate with each other in the company is always tongue-in-cheek sometimes, and we're having fun. There's a sense of humor, I think, that permeates the entire organization, and we can have a laugh together. And if you can't have that, wow, what are you doing?
Very boring.
Yeah. Life is so hard as it is anyways, you must have a little fun in between. And the other thing, which is very much a global Hafele culture, is that we are very entrepreneurial, and we are almost, when you talk to outsiders, extremely decentralized in the way we're operating.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're not a company that is driven by what is decided in Germany in that little valley in the Black Forest, because then I think we'd be in trouble. But we decide on the ground what is right for this market and what our customers want from us, and whether it's products or services or whatever it may be, we decide that here, and the company lets us. And I think that's
that culture trickles down
at it's the very foundation of what Hafele is, and our success that we have had over the years. Because you will see, if you go to Europe, you find very different Hafele companies to Asia.
Is it?
Yes, in terms of what they sell, to whom they sell, how they sell, because that's the European culture there. Right. And then, we have a very unique culture in South Asia.
Okay.
And then again, if you go further east, in Southeast Asia, you find big differences, and North Asia, if you want, big differences again, right. How we interact with our customers and what our customers expect of us.
Right.
So, and we adjust to that, unique market, and that's made us so successful over the years.
I think Hafele is a customer-centric company.
Very much, yes.
So it only makes sense that whichever region you go, and I'm sure you spend a lot of time studying the markets as well. Like you just told me that you all don't just leap into something without the proper deliberations, and then after deliberating you would want to experiment, and based on that experiment, and then you would take a final call.
Yeah. Every country is different, really.
Is different.
I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that people in companies make, to categorize everything into a region. I think that's what we've done right, that we have ultimately looked at each country individually and adjusted our strategies, whether it's product strategies or service strategies, and how we go to market to that one marketplace. And as I said earlier, that is the strength of Hafele, that they have let us do that.
Yes.
Without interfering, without impressing, from the German headquarter on us that we need to do certain things in such a way and so on, which may not be right for the market.
Right.
So they listen, and they continue to listen, and that is not always the case with companies.